What is up, everybody? It's Ballers on a Budget. We're back. We're going to talk about the AFC South this time. Obviously, I'm joined with Sports Beast again. Corey, give him a shout out.
Yo, what up?
Go visit him. Facebook, YouTube, the Twitter tweet, and then TikTok now as well. So let's go ahead, jump right in. If you guys haven't noticed, the glasses are back. I think it's a cheap brand, so I'm not going to shout them out. But, if anybody wants to send free glasses my way, I'm game. So let's go ahead and start off with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like I said, AFC South. We're going to do all of them. Try to go from top to bottom if I remember. Jacksonville Jaguars finished last season in 3-14. It's honestly just disappointing for this team, I think, personally. Expected. I think they will move to third this year. They finished last. And I think there's an urgent need to see some quarterback improvement this year. Trevor Lawrence had a shaky year where the yards weren't bad, but the most important thing is to really take care of the ball. And with his 3,600 pass yards, he had a 12-17 touchdown ratio, which is awful. You just can't do that without getting more. Jameis Winston had a lot of interceptions, but he also had a lot of touchdowns. So if he can do that, then they won't look as bad. And I think if he just turns this interception and touchdown ratio over, it'll turn the W column into more than what, 4? Oh, 3. My bad. I just said it. At running back, I personally think James Robinson is a serviceable running back, but he needs to be healthy all season. And Travis Etienne, however the hell you say his name. He was a rookie last year, missed all of that season with an injury. So, there's definitely injury worry on this whole depth chart for the running back. So we'll see. That's why I said there's a lot of urgency for this quarterback to step up right now and prove he's a quarterback he was chosen to be. They actually got a new wide receiver, Christian Kirk from Arizona, just under 1,000 yards, only 5 touchdowns. He'll now be the new number 1. Next fellow 1,000-yarder, nearly 1,000-yarder, Marvin Jones. He did it last year. Let's see if he can try to improve a little bit and break that mark. At third, they have Laviska Schultz. Laviska. And then
isn't it Laviska
Schultz, something.
There's definitely an N in there. Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. But they did also get Evan Ingram at tight end, who didn't do too hot last year, but we know he can be a good possession receiver. So there's plenty of targets for Lawrence. Next up, we go to their defense, and it's defense that's literally just middle of the pack. More turnovers to put this offense in a better position. That's just what's needed. So, again, it hypes right back to the touchdown-interception ratio, which, if you really look into the stats, this league is driven on touchdown-interception ratio. Obviously, you got to perform in the bigger moments in the playoffs, but if you look at the touchdown-interception ratio, it correlates a lot to the standings. So, to improve their team in the draft, they did buff the defensive line with the first overall selection, Travion Walker, the defensive end from Georgia. Also a first-round selection they got for the line, a linebacker, Devin Lloyd, my bad, wow. Devin Lloyd out of Utah. Then in the third round, they selected another linebacker, Chad Muma from Wyoming. So my questions for you, Mr. Corey. I would say Mr. Lozier, but I feel like I'm talking to myself. This team's identity, speaking of my identity crisis, like I just mentioned, do you think it'll follow the touchdown differential on Trevor Lawrence more than the defense? So do you think the defense needs to perform better than the offense? And then how crucial is this year for really Lawrence? I mean, he has a whole lot of weapons. We already talked about him. His team needs to come out of the basement. He needs to at least score more. Only 12 touchdowns with that many yards. I mean, come on. I didn't watch a whole lot of their games, but it was a lot of red zone interceptions. Maybe a little bit of more research would have put that question at ease.
No, I think this year is going to be good for him. He's like you said, they have a lot of weapons around him now, which tells you that the team has a lot of trust in him, or enough trust in him to start to build around him. And yes, it's only people like Christian Kirk, who was a number 3 when he was on the Cardinals at best towards the end of the season, a low 2.
Yeah,
like you mentioned, Marvin Jones. I mean, he's not by any means like a Stephon Diggs or Justin Jefferson, but he's a good receiver. He's a great number 2 receiver. I loved watching him play when he was on the Lions. But to answer the question or questions that were in there, I think this does need to be a big year for him. And mainly because the NFL is kind of a fast-paced. He's only in year 2. I think he's going to do well. But that's going to show the organization, obviously, who he is as a quarterback, but what they can look forward to and what they need to see to go out and get one of those big name receivers. On the defensive side of things, I don't really have an answer for that. It just needs to be a collective, hey, we need to get our stuff together and show everybody that we do have playmakers and are able to beat at least a team like the Texans in this division. And I think with the weapons he has now, I think there's full capability of having that ratio that you talked about, the 12 and what was it, 17 or something like that.
Yep.
I think that does look a little better this year. I don't know if it's just me or if it's the media kind of persuading my opinion on it, but I do think he's going to have a pretty decent year this year.
Okay, like I said, it's a make or break season for me for Trevor Lawrence, really. I think he has enough weapons to produce. I mean, the defense isn't the greatest to rely on, but he's got to produce at least, or it was a bust to me. All right, next up, coming from out of the basement, not really out because they're going to stay in it, is the Houston Texans. They finished a 21 season in third with a record of 4-13. Bottom dwelling rush defense and not so much better pass defense. This team has a long way to go before they can compete for a wild card, and I mean a long way to go. So, like I said, I see a position swap in this division by the end of it. So when we give our predictions at the end of this video, you'll know where my at least power rankings are. QB Davis Mills, man, aka Mills Mafia. I love it. Missed a handful of games, but still put up 2,600 yards and 16-10 in touchdown interception ratio. It's not too shabby for a rookie that nobody had on the radar, to be honest, and still missed a handful of games, like I mentioned. He just came out of nowhere for a team that you knew was going to do nothing all year. Created a little bit of hype. I'm rooting for the guy. The running game was non-existent. So let's move on. I mean, it's still going to be non-existent. They got to almost rely on the Mills Mafia. So, I mean, for a fantasy standpoint, I could bring up their depth chart. Okay, let's see here. Sorry, I'm not a fast clicker. They got Marlon Mack from the Colts, but Marlon Mack wasn't too hot. I mean, he created a little bit of buzz, but we all know who the Colts running back is. We'll get there. Like I said, for fantasy value, there's not much. Rex Burkhead was the main one last year, and he didn't produce much. He played almost, I think, all season. Didn't really do much, so don't expect much from this running core. Okay, geez. Wide receiver core, they got Brandon Cooks, 1,000-yard receiver. Obviously, he's going to look to improve on that. He will have another solid candidate with his rookie. Oh, wait. He's going to look to improve this year. My bad. He will not have his rookie, his fellow rookie last year, Nico Collins. Damn, let me talk. Quit interrupting me. So that's about it for the receiver core. Nothing much for Mills Mafia to really work with. On the defensive end, they even forced 25 turnovers on the defensive side, but they still gave up a lot. So you're not really doing much, especially if the offense is not good enough to produce either. So like I said, bottom dwelling for this whole team. In the draft, they did get Derek Stingley Jr., the quarterback out of LSU. He's obviously going to take control in this defense by talent alone in the next 2 years. He's going to be the team captain. Too bad it's just not a one-on-one sport for him because that dude is a fucking beast. They got some Mills Mafia protection in the first round as well from Kenyon Green, the offensive guard out of Texas A&M. And then we get to how this team's going to slowly start its rebuild. With 2 picks in the second round, as well as in the 5th pick, wow. I need to type better because holy shit, I'm all over the place. The second round and the 5th pick, Houston selected the safety out of Baylor, which is Jalen Petrie, strengthening the secondary. Unfortunately, in the second round, the 12th pick, wide receiver out of Alabama, is expected to miss the whole 2020 season. John Mechie, the second or the third, I don't know. I didn't put the number after, but due to the Lukes, so that's leukemia, if you guys didn't know. So he's an NFL player. If he can make it to the NFL, he can beat fucking leukemia. So he'll be back. But for now, they're still going to be in the basement with or without him. And my questions for you, Corey, simply Mills Mafia. Do you think he's going to improve? Nothing really changes. I mean, he's got one guy to help protect him, but we know how injuries are. Do you think he improves on the little that he already did? I know we got a decent sample size, but does he improve? And then I feel the offense will struggle to produce again, regardless of what happens. This team is just destined for the fucking basement, and I'm tired of talking about them. But turnovers for the defense, those are pretty good. The offense just need to capitalize on them. And then do you think they keep their 3rd place? Or do you personally think they go down to the 2nd as well?
This is a team that I have no faith in. They should have started their rebuild this year. No, they kind of did. But they need to take that roster, crumple that thing up, throw it away. Start over, brand new. I don't care if you're drafting toddlers; they're gonna be better.
Toddlers.
Look, you're all hyped up about the Mills Mafia. That is the only thing cool about that, and that's only because they're ripping off a good team.
Dude, no. He's got just as much hype as the whole entire Bills fandom.
I don't care which one of the 3 quarterbacks, and I was just looking at them. I forget who they are. Which one of the 3 quarterbacks you have in there, because it's not going to matter. Mills isn't going to produce. The only good receiver you have is Brandon Cooks. And without another I don't want to say elite, but without a better quarterback, it's just going to make him look bad. So he's not going to be able to shine like he normally would, or at least used to. They don't have any other weapons on offense. They've got a tight end that I've never even seen before, but he played 9 games last year with them. Brevin Jordan, never even heard of that name. Maybe it's because I don't watch a lot of Houston football.
You're not missing much.
He had 20 receptions, 178 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And like you said, they're terrible on both sides of the ball. And that's a whole lot to work with and try to get better in 1 year. So again, start that rebuild now. The sooner, the better.
Last place. It is what it is.
Last place. Yep.
Done said it.
The Jags take them over.
Let's move on to a team with a little more promise. We're talking the Indianapolis Colts, a team with a great rush game and an amazing defense. And can a change at QB be the piece that is missing for a Super Bowl run finally? A deep playoff run, because they get to the Super Bowl all the time. Can they finally have a good run? They get to the playoffs all the time. Can they finally have a good run at the Super Bowl? Finished last year at 9-8, second in the division. In a late season loss to the Jags, actually, is what sealed the deal for their snub for the wild card chance this year. So, QB, they did make a change from Wentz to Matty Ice. And I think this change is hilarious because it's kind of reminiscent to what the Rams just did for Stafford. Matty Ice has been with the Falcons, hasn't really done much, got to the Super Bowl and choked. And then now it's a new team. Remember Stafford's commercial with the phone, AT&T, I think it is, where it's like, oh, were you with the team where you love for a very, very long time, but then you make a change and then it's still nice and you win a Super Bowl? And you like winks or whatever. But that's just like this. It's a very reminiscent. I'm sold. This is the Colts year. We'll see. I'm not. I wouldn't bet money on it, but just this move alone, I think the organization is trying to copy it. But you go from Wentz, who had 3,500 yards, 27-7 touchdown interception ratio. I think that's pretty damn good for Wentz. I mean, I know everyone used to hate on this guy when he played for the Eagles, but I like him. Now we'll see what he does for a Commanders team. But Matty Ice last year for the Falcons had nearly 4,000 in a 20-12 touchdown interception ratio. We all know the Falcons can't really produce offensively at all much. So, but with new weapons on his board, like the Marlon Mack truck, who rushed for 1,800 yards, 18 touchdowns, added 360 pass yards, receiving yards. I wish pass yards. That'd be fucking entertaining to see that dude fucking take a handoff then throw as well. Somehow a behind the back fucking pass so they can still legally throw it forward, and he does that. But they're not doing that. He also added 2 receiving touchdowns. Like I said, he's got weapons because also at wide receiver, he's got Michael Pittman Jr., who is said to be primed for a breakout year. They said in training camp he's been looking great. Can he repeat another 1,000-yard season? And the big question for me is Paris Campbell. I love the guy personally, OSU. He's a clear number 2, but he had injuries last year. That's the biggest question for me. Honestly, I love. We'll get into it. We'll get into it. I'm skipping ahead. Okay. The defense is set and ready for another run because they're a top 5 defense all around. And the defense is what's scary on this team, to be honest. It's what creates them everything. They just set them up so good, and then they got King Henry or now the guy they have leading that quarterback, which is Matty Ice. So we'll see what they can do. The questions for you. Oh, no. Skip too far ahead. In the draft, this is what I was skipping too far ahead to. Passing was the main issue last year. So on top of Campbell expecting to be healthy, they drafted a wide receiver, Alec Pierce from Cincy out of the 2nd round. I think this is a great freaking pick. I'm trying to censor because that freaking tag for the children on YouTube. It got me thinking for the comments. Damn you! Fuck the kid click. Then they took a tight end, Jelani Woods. I hope I'm saying that first name right. Probably butchering it. From Virginia in the 3rd round. So they got a good young tight end now. My question's for you, Corey. Will this defense stay near the top? And will the Marlon Mack truck win the MVP this year, competing with his division rival running back? Is Matty Ice better than Wentz? Flat out. I'm not talking history. I'm talking talent right now and who you would personally rely on. Old Prince Harry lookalike or noodle alarm Super Bowl appearing and choking QB Matty Ice? Get it.
I think it's pretty obvious. I like Matty Ice because he can do more with a bad team or not as good team, however you want to look at it. But you keep saying Marlon Mack a lot. Jonathan Taylor.
Jesus.
The whole time. But
dude, I know what I did. I was on the stat page and I got caught up in that damn that name. I like it. And it's for someone who's subpar too. Marlon Mack is not that good for a name that I gave him too good of a name. I'm disappointed in myself. And I fucked up the whole running back. I'm sorry, Jonathan Taylor.
Especially because you were dogging on him in the last
I
one.
know. I'm surprised I didn't catch it just now.
Marlon Mack truck.
I'm surprised I didn't catch it now. I took my notes weird this time, so freaking
Oh, that's funny. But anyways, I do think Jonathan Taylor's going to have a good year. But look back at last year. Obviously, King Henry leading the charge. It took 2 weeks after he got injured for somebody to catch up to him. So we can already kind of feel out where everybody's going in, I don't know, placing of the running back list. King Henry's at the top of everybody's list, hurt or not. But I think this year, and now you got me wanting to say Marlon Mack.
Dude, I'm telling you, it's a catchy name.
Jonathan Taylor, with the addition of somebody who doesn't have to rely on the run game in Matty Ice, his production is going to go down, obviously. So how does somebody like Jonathan Taylor prepare for this season where every snap is going to count? Every yard is going to count and be big. Aside from that, weapons-wise, like you've mentioned, they do have a ton of weapons. Michael Pittman, I think he's going to have a great year with his new quarterback. And his defense is just going to hold strong. You did mention Super Bowl. I don't think it's that far yet. I think it maybe a good playoff run. But there's a lot of good teams, a lot of good competition. I think they can make it interesting.
Like I said, I just said Super Bowl because of the reminiscent transaction at quarterback and how it all has panned out so far. So
that would be a great story, though.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm rooting for it. That's all I'm saying. Not that it's likely. Like I said, I'm not betting money, but it could happen.
If it happens, Patrick Mahomes is switching teams next year.
He hasn't been there long enough. He hasn't been there long enough, working long enough. You have to be there for plenty of years, dogging it, but not having a good outcome at the end of the year, and then change to a new team. But let's get on to the best team in this division, the Tennessee Titans. And after finishing 12-5 and losing to the Super Bowl losers, the Bengals, in the playoffs, are they ready to make plans for a QB change in the future? And another question is, can they shore up the pass defense? It's the only other thing that's hurting them. At QB, as much as I love to doubt this guy, he continues to produce. Even if King Henry isn't even in the backfield due to injury, Tannehill had 3,700 yards, 21 to 14 touchdown interception ratio. He did good despite not having Henry half the time. So, I mean, you got to give him props where props are due. And I never do. So I'm doing it now. King Henry, he will be back, and he will be in MVP shape form, whatever you want to call him. The lump of mass that you call Henry. He'll be there, and he won't be there for 8 games. He's going to be there the whole season. MVP run. Even with the 8 games, he was only just shy of 1,000 yards. So, I mean, still dogging it. And the backups just don't compare. The wide receivers, lead receiver A.J. Brown is no more. So now Robert Woods is in there, and he steps into being the number 1. He only played 9 games last year, had 550 yards and only 4 touchdowns. But Robert Woods is a big, big sleeper, personally. Moving on to the defense. The rush defense is phenomenal, top 3 in the league. The pass defense I already mentioned, not so much, 25th to be exact. In the draft, they got a new number 2 wide receiver in the first round selection, wide receiver Trevion Burks from Arkansas. I say it how it's spelled. Try me. Second round pick, Roger McCreary will shore up the secondary at cornerback from Alabama. And the best third round pick is their future plans, Malik Willis at QB from Liberty. And then I personally like this pick. As much as I don't like the team, I like the pick because I like the player's talent. 4th round pick, some potential depth for King Henry in case he goes down, but he won't. But the workhorse needs a break. They drafted Hassan Haskins, running back from Michigan. So I know you have some thoughts on that pick. And that leads me into the questions. How do you think Hassan Haskins will play out if Henry goes down early or whatever? And the QB, how long do you think those plans start to take effect? I personally think they're going to wait till Tannehill has an injury or is just throwing too many interceptions. But
yeah, I completely agree.
Maybe waiting.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they're going to jump off of the Tannehill train. Sorry. Until obviously production goes down or he does get hurt. I think it's a good idea to stick with Tannehill because he is producing, even though if you're not a Titans fan, you don't really hear much about him. But like you said, when you're looking up his numbers and what he's been doing, he does very well, very consistent and getting better, or at least trying to every year.
Don't we all?
The running back pick, I don't really have anything to say about it. I mean, he'll just be hopefully a serviceable if King Henry goes down again. But I don't know. Henry's a whole new breed of person, so like it's just hard for me to think. He's not like a Christian McCaffrey or a Saquon Barkley where you're like, oh, he got hurt last year. He'll probably get hurt again this year. No, he's a trained dude. That's what he does for a living. He runs people over. So you expect him to be literally 100, 110% this year after the injury.
I'm confused, dude. You mentioned 2 trains already. The Tannehill train and the King Henry train. Which one, dude? Are these tracks going to collide? What the hell's going on here? Yeah. The conductors are drunk.
But I do think this team is going to be good. I think they got a good tight end in Austin Hooper. You know him. He was Cleveland last year. Got about 38 receptions. But this team isn't crazy. Like, this team is a Henry-driven team.
Yeah. I mean, A.J. Brown was a 1,000-yard receiver on this team.
I mean, I guess you take what you get, I guess.
I mean, I just think they're number 1. They're number one, whoever that is. Let me see.
I just don't see Hooper getting
Robert
his.
Woods. If Robert Woods is healthy, he's the new 1,000-yard receiver for this team at least. And that's all they need to stay par from what they've been doing.
I mean, I can see it.
Keep
I don't
Henry
know.
healthy.
It's going to be tough for me to see.
At least one 1,000-yard receiver.
It's going to be tough for me to see how effective Robert Woods is going to be literally until I actually see it happen.
Trevion Burks, man.
I think he's great, but I don't know. King Henry seems to take over the show, and that's kind of just what you expect about him. And I already said it took 2 weeks for somebody to catch up to him after he got hurt.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of what he does.
Henry's a dog. But if Henry gets hurt, I hope personally they throw Malik Wills in there at QB so they can see what he does with the two people, the number 1 and 2, Robert Woods and Trevion Burks.
You want Malik Wills at running back if
I just think if Henry goes down, your season's down pretty much. So why not play around with your future?
No.
It's gonna be your future.
That's false, though. I don't know if you're saying the right.
Then you already have Hassan Haskins.
Because you said if Henry goes down, your season goes down.
Yeah.
But you also said throw Malik Wills in there
at QB over Tannehill.
But they proved that wasn't the case last year when they won a bunch of games without Henry.
Yeah, but I don't think they're Super Bowl bound. What are they going to do? Get to the playoffs and get bounced every year?
No, but
that can't be the ceiling.
But they're just going to be
goal for the ceiling.
They're just going to be hopeful and hope that they make the playoffs without Henry again.
No, dude, you got to live it Madden style. Go for broke. These guys are billionaires.
Yeah.
Toy with them, work with them. But this was an interesting episode. But this is Ballers on a Budget. I was here with Corey Lozier. We're signing out finally. My rants are done. Catch us on YouTube, Facebook, the Twitter, and the TikTok. Peace.